Emotional variability has been linked to mood and anxiety disorders. Could underlying mechanisms behind these emotions reveal treatments? Understanding emotions relies on answering what are they? Are they the results of our thoughts or innate responses from the brain? This presentation will briefly outline two theories of emotion. First, we have the James Lang theory. The theory says that when faced with salient stimuli, our body reacts with physiological behaviors, such as fast breathing, a racing heartbeat, or facial expression change. These different physiological symptoms represent different patterns of activity within the brain. From this brain pattern and its physiological results, one then unconsciously deduces what emotion they represent. Alternatively, there is the appraisal theory of emotion. This theory suggests that when humans are faced with an event, they assess the environment and their relationship with the event for more meaning. This meaning then determines the emotion that follows. Anger and fear both have beginnings in the threat detection circuit, which starts with the superior collicus. This structure picks out unusual visual information and sends it to the pulvinar. The pulvinar works with the prefrontal cortex to mediate attention in order to send information to the amygdala. The input side of the amygdala, the basolateral amygdala, assesses potential emotional threat. The central nucleus of the amygdala then projects this to the hypothalamus. Along with this threat signal and hormones, the hypothalamus then enacts an innate fight or flight response. But cognitive processes are also at work. The orbitofrontal cortex sends information about previous emotional stimuli, and the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex regulates perceived conflict. The ventromedial prefrontal cortex suppresses the amygdala's alarm response, and low activation can lead to frustration. The anterior cingulate cortex uses reappraisals of the event. Fear is also mediated by structures outside of the initial threat detection. When stimuli is associated with fear, the central nucleus of the amygdala triggers other areas to respond, like the bed nucleus of the stria terminalis, which can result in anxiety, and the dorsal and ventral striatum, which enact an approach or avoidance behavior. The insula combines the information of reappraisal, threat response, emotional reasoning, and it identifies threatening outcomes such as guilt, shame, sadness, and disgust. Happiness can be assessed through reward-seeking behaviors. This enacts dopamine being sent from the ventral tegmental area to the nucleus accumbens, which uses the dopamine to determine approach or avoidance behavior, to the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which determines what outcome should occur, and the orbitofrontal cortex, which provides reward-based information. The opioid reward system has been linked to liking. Very similarly, it starts off with the ventral tegmental area, except here it ends up in the ventral pallidum, a opioid neurotransmitter hotspot, which enacts positive affect and liking. The ventromedial frontal cortex has been linked to aggression. The bed nucleus of the stria terminalis has been linked to anxiety, and a dysfunctional amygdala has been linked to threat perception in paranoid schizophrenia. Underactivation of the dopamine and opioid reward circuits correlated with depression and bipolar. Interestingly, exercise was found to increase them and decrease mental disorders. Emotions exhibited both theories mentioned, with an innate alarm response being mediated by reappraisals. The link between emotion circuits and mental disorders indicate a relationship and potentially treatments. Potentially, the answer to treatments lay within us, identifiable by our own reactive behavior.